Well, I want to welcome you to the December 2020 webinar for the NCSG membership. And this month's subject is going to be one that I hope you can take to heart. And it's why many technicians fail at sales. That's right, they fail at sales. So the first question I got to ask you, are you tracking and measuring and determining what is the closure rate of your service technicians when they make a sales presentation to a customer? What's the percentage? You see, one of the things that you've got to do if you're going to improve, you've got to track and measure, because we can only improve on what we track and measure. So what's the closing rate? What's their closing rate on the job site? And what's their closing rate with follow-up? You should have goals established in this area, and you need to be tracking what the performance is. And in today's world, many of the software programs that many companies are using have this ability. But I'm presenting this after observing many technicians in the field and companies over quite a period of time. And we've been able to determine some things that will say success and also will say failure. The first thing that we see that many service technicians do is they have a failure of ability to listen to what the customer is saying and to provide the answers to the questions that the customer is asking. You see, there's an old sales adage that comes into play here. And what it is, it's called listening to understand, not listening to reply. And often this is where we have a failure in communication. Think about it. What's it like when you ask a question and someone then replies with a different answer because they didn't listen to what you were saying? So this is one that technicians have got to work on, is the ability to understand what the customer's needs are. The next is failure to have empathy. In other words, they do not have empathy for the customer's situation. Often it could be because we're busy, and this is a big one right now. We're in a bull market. And a bull market is when the work is coming at you so fast that you really can't keep up. That's one of the big traits of chimney service companies, is looking at the backlog as a sign of success and not at the true numbers that are reflected in the profit picture. And we forget about why we've got to be good. But if this bull market ceases, your technicians are going to have to up their skill level. They're going to have to up their communication styles. So that's one. Another one is they often fail to build trust with the customer. And failure to build trust can be from arriving a little bit late, not showing up properly, not being properly dressed, not being clean, not being presentable, having a real messy truck. But all these things will work to eradicate trust that your customer should feel with you. It's into the language that you use and on the job sites, the way you interact together. But building trust is of utmost importance. And that trust has got to be built when you first knock on that door. The trust building process starts at that point. The next is they just don't build that relationship with the customer. And this is vastly important. If you're going to buy from someone, you got to have a relationship. And so often we are not building that relationship. We are on what I call the run and gun process. How fast can I get this done? Because I got to get to another client and I'm heavily booked. We're under pressure. We got to do all these different things. And what happens is the relationship just simply falls apart. The next one is also a big one, which is failure to follow up. And what we mean by this, you got to follow up and make sure that your customer is happy. Make sure your customer is understanding what you've told them. Make sure the customer is grasping what needs to be done. We look at this, and when we look at this, this is often going to fall back to the way we've explained it, the way we have shown the documentation, the way we the customer understands. Think of it, and to give you an example, we all drive an automobile, and in today's world, what you do at an auto shop is they plug a computer in to check out everything in the car, and they start talking about all the sensors that may go bad that have to be replaced. And often we just don't even understand as a driver of that automobile what these sensors are and why they're affecting the performance of our car. Why is it not doing like it should be doing? These are the things that we've got to keep in mind to make sure that we're doing it properly. The next one is a really big one. And I see this happening quite often where companies are losing big sales and they're actually selling it and their competitor grasp it or the work never gets done. And that is the failure to return phone calls. This is a biggie. And I've witnessed this. And in the last week, I have seen several big jobs go to competitors simply because the customer called and wanted the technician to call them back and give them more information. You see, that's part of that relationship. That's part of that trust factor. Because if you can't return the phone call when they got questions, what goes into their minds is, what's going to happen when we got a problem? Are we going to be hung out here to dry? Now, what's got to happen here is this is where your people have to go through ongoing training. They also have to have ongoing critique and assessment of their performance. That's a responsibility of management to take a look, an honest look. But see, this is the problem. We often just don't have the time to inspect for what we expect. Several years ago, we rolled out a program called Virtual Quality Control. And the companies that are using this is helping them exponentially. So what we're doing with this, the majority of technicians are now using an electronic means, a tablet or a phone, to show the photos, the documentation that they have at the job site. Well, what we've suggested to do is to install a screen recorder on your electronic device, your phone or your tablet. If you're using an Apple, the best one we found is called Recordit. If you're using an Android device, then your best one is DU Recorder. And it's real simple to put this process into place. What we would do is it's time to have that kitchen table discussion, as we always called it, where we sit down with the customer and go over the various things that we found in this inspection, the problems that are there. And what we want to do before we start this is we want to ask the customer's permission. And I'm going to give you an example. For Mrs. Jones, if you have a few moments, I'd like to go over what we found here. And if it's okay with you, we can actually record this. So if you have questions later or Mr. Jones comes home and have questions, instead of you having to answer these, you can simply play this recording back. We'll send you a copy of this upon completion. This becomes part of your follow-up process with that customer. So what do you do after you record it? Someone's got to listen to it. And it needs to be listened to both by the technician so they can hear how they're describing things, how they can work on getting their communication styles to a higher level. And then from this point, a mentor, a coach, a leadership person, a manager, someone else listens to this and finds out where the communication style is good and where it's bad. But you've also got to look at other things, which are analyzing your behavior patterns. There's a program out there that you can have done called DISC, and DISC will allow you to understand what your personal behavior patterns are. And if you get into the study of DISC, what you can do is you can start gauging and understanding the behavior patterns of your customer. You see, different customers want things given to them in communication in different styles. Some people want it in a bullet point format. Ba-bam, ba-bam, ba-bam. Tell me what's wrong. That's a high D personality. You've also got people that want in-depth discussion. They got to talk about this. They got to hear about all the good things, all the bad things. So if you've never had a DISC assessment done of yourself, This is something you should really look at having done, and also understanding the DISC of others. Now, what else have you got to do? You got to track and measure your own performance. And you have to also make a decision, a dedicated decision that you are going to improve. You see, that's often where we see people get to. They get to a certain level and they're content at that point. But we're never going to be perfect. We have to continue to work to get better and better and better each and every day. And we only do that if we can take a personal self-assessment, a critique of ourselves, a critique of our performance, and determine how can we get better. This is of utmost importance if you want to improve. Okay, so these are some ideas this month for you to look at. Keep in mind, you're in a bull market right now. There is more than likely work coming into you faster than you've ever seen it in your life, in your career. But what you've got to do is you got to continue to work to get better, to strive to go to that higher level. And this is a personal decision that must be made by each individual. It's not a decision that anyone can make for you. It all depends on how good do you actually want to be at your chosen field of endeavor. So that's it for this month from CVC Success Group. And I hope this has helped you. If we can help you turn your dreams of business into your business realities, reach out to us here. Love to have a conversation with you. And we appreciate this opportunity to speak to you every month like this. Talk to you later. Have a great day.